Back to the European Parliament, in fact, with Stephen in business. Lawmakers, they're going to vote today on new EU copyright rules later on.
It's not often the European Parliament is the centre of showbiz, but this is a debate that's pitted Paul McCartney against Wyclef Jean. The European Union wants to overhaul its copyright laws to include controversial measures like a so-called link tax, making search engines to pay media organisations for linking to their content. Another provision would require websites like YouTube to filter uploads for copyrighted material. Its supporters say that it will help our artists to earn a living from their work, while its critics believe the measures could lead to censorship.
Of course we believe in the continuation of Facebook and Google. Just let them pay us. That's all we're asking, that they pay us so that we can continue and develop the news.
I own some of the biggest copyrights in the world, and I'm telling any kid right here, I don't want to filter for you if you want to play the Wyclef Jean music. So this is how I'm going to discover the next artist.
Don't know if the European parliamentarians would know themselves at Wyclef Jean wandering around the building. Anyway, moving on, the price of oil has jumped over fears that Hurricane Florence could disrupt supplies. US WTI crude trading close to $70 a barrel, continuing the rises that we've seen over the past 24 hours. A similar picture on the international benchmark Brent crude. It's close to $80 a barrel in trading, up about 1/3%. On the stock markets, it's a mixed open in Europe. Oil companies among those seeing gains, of course, as oil prices start. We have London opening flat, Frankfurt in the red, and Paris trading up. The French luxury brand Hermes among the gainers there. They're up after their latest results, showing a strong rise in earnings. Over in Asia, we had started the day with Chinese shares in the red. They turned into the green. They're back in the red towards the end of trading there. The Hang Seng in Hong Kong continuing its falls. Of course, it dipped into a bear market yesterday after that 20% drop since its peak in January. Trade tensions, the big issue dominating the markets, the latest twist being that China has delayed issuing licenses to American businesses hoping to operate in the country.
Now, the European carrier Ryanair facing fresh strike action today, Stephen.
The low-cost airline has cancelled 150 of its 400 scheduled flights to and from Germany as pilots and cabin crew stage a 24-hour strike. It's just the latest in a series of stoppages by staff at the airline across various European countries as they seek better pay and conditions. The airline says that further strikes could lead to job cuts. Owen Barnell reports.
150. The number of Ryanair flights to and from Germany now cancelled over a 24-hour strike by pilots and crew. The Irish budget airline said the cancellations were to minimise disruption across its 400-flight service and slammed the union action as out of line.
We are willing to move forward, and we have been for the last month, and we still are. But if we're going to face lightning strikes and unreasonable and ridiculous behaviour from the VC, well then that's making it going to be very, very difficult for us to maintain our normal business in Germany.
It's been a tough holiday season for Ryanair. The carrier hit hard by a summer of strikes across Europe over pay and working conditions. Ryanair pilots in 5 European countries staged their first ever simultaneous walkout in August, causing travel chaos as some 400 flights were cancelled. Staff complain of low wages and job insecurity. Workers are employed under Irish legislation, but they want contracts based in their own country and under local employment conditions.
3/4 have the status of being self-employed. In fact, these pilots are in a permanent state of insecurity. They don't know where they're going to work. One day they will be based in one European airport, then the next sent to work in another.
Ryanair has made progress with unions in recent weeks, reaching a deal with Italian pilots in late August and with Irish pilots last week. Yet the company has struggled to come to agreements with workers since recognising unions last year. The unprecedented step was taken to avoid strikes around Christmas. But this week, union leaders are expected to announce the biggest strike action the company has ever seen. Mass walkouts across 5 EU countries.
And finally from Stephen, the construction on the site of the former World Trade Center in New York. It's now finished, but the next challenge is to actually fill those offices.
So in fact, 4 years after the One World Trade Center tower reopened, a fifth of the office space is still empty. Now, the owners and operators say that's partly because the site until recently had an unfinished feel with all of the construction work that was going on. But despite high-profile tenants like Condé Nast and Spotify, the vacancy rate around the World Trade Center is above average for New York City. But it's actually a problem that even affected the site when the towers were first built in the 1970s. The developers say they believe the spaces will be fully leased by the end of next year.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Stephen with business for you on France 24.